Alright, so we knocked out the first five. We chiseled in the first five of them here. Now, these back five, in terms of the concrete factory footer for the bridge and road crew coming through town for whoever's benevolence in the area, uh, we'll figure out what the integers are here in a minute and start adding them up, because again, this is a heavy duty thing. As you're reading out the Putnam or the stem problems or whichever variable of it you got at hand, one of the first things you're going to want to remember is having something like this experiment directly. See, I've been using a lot of other stuff. This is the new hot cookie in the area that really directly kind of pegs it in there. Much like some of these questions do in their orientation, their manifolding, their one step sequences of describing triple body problems out to the 30th, condense it down to the 12th in a data compressed system of 5, and how we'll take that to a concrete system, a concrete circle pour, or a concrete depth pour, not just the costs of those things. Because for the Jenny and Steffi here, Dave, a ratio problem of students on a field trip as much as men and women in a city, or what integers you're really going to need to describe what that is. We'll talk about an analytical way of subcompartmentalizing which AB sequence that is, and each of those are in a matrix, because we could describe that problem very analytically in that form of what type based systems there are. And another thing in here is, you'll notice I'm very, very specific about what goes over what. And the way you word it, you want to make sure that you're very right-handed, that way you're not putting a fraction written or spoken the wrong way in terms of how you analytically want the bigger numbers first and then broken down. Now, there might be a few subset of circumstances where that's just a little different, but they are very analytical to why they show up in that physical form instead of just a arbitrary ASVAB that is even good as an ASVAB. Just, can you do those basis standards? But can a soft operator read one of these things and kind of be able to break down the Putnam very specifically? I should be able to condense that information using this algebraic series and the law of exponents in terms of the combination of the law of the exponents and an example of the law of the exponents to determine why the write out on a class trip where n students, y are males, what is the percentage of the class that is female? X plus 1. Now, again, I would probably leave that bit out, but that's going to be an important ratio later about what priority number 1 is inside of here. Trying to hedge with your best systems and understand C++. It's a duality problem of the entropy of that pack running downrange. So you're going to get into some of those percentages at the certain decimal, where that very specific equation is going to be heavy duty material later on for why you're doing that type of math. N, Y, X, sigma sum, sigma n equals y the platforms, or to those levels they have code combinations. And so you would see me break down that topological model. I don't just necessarily want to see yours like this, but there's a bunch of them out there headhunting for them. Go find those ones. So this is a very different organization than Grammar's Heroes, ASVAB, AFQT, practice test, arithmetic reasoning. Pretty simple stuff. Their questions are very simple with the answer written right into it, where n students is going to be 40 students, 14 of them are male, and it'll have that written out, and I have it actually analytically to a program where you would need to have sigma n equal 40n plus 14y equal x percentage, pump out 65% here, because those are the analytical choices that computer makes, right? It wants to be able to 40 minus 14, so 40 plus n inside of this case will get me that differential. But in the n state and the y state, these are very heavy duty concepts. We're already taking some big leaps in terms of what the mechanics are going to be into this setup. And so that's your basic matrix, your angling angles of when you're adding that, you'll get, well, or subtracting 14 from 40, I can't take 4 away from 0. How do I mechanically get that to do that is a type of that same question. N, Y, and other variables, A, U, A, X, Z, in certain indicators would tell me very specifically P, I, E, S, or the way that mechanics is going to, well, you got a Cryptex handy. You can be able to apply that kind of hydrogen wave function to that area. Is it in there? Sure is. 100% of the time, there's no way it doesn't. It's something that tight to the core of the system. But when you start to get away from there, that's where that angular, if I have something IH, color in that quadrant, gravity, electromagnetism, weak force, strong force, photon, gluon, which would be a photon to the diagram, Feynman. See if we can just tighten it up here. Okay, in terms of a looking at it perspective of now its orientation and its mass, right? You know, the mass of that nugget. Buds for you. And there's going to be that 3B, 1B for the manner. If you're going to do that, there's dual diagnosis to it, and you'd want to have your own very specific dual diagnosis checked out to this Milgram's experiment, Pavlovian dog.
Senator Ron Johnson sits on the Senate Foreign Relations and Homeland Security Committees.
Again,
and Senator,
just missing
A1
for the arithmetic series and the law of exponents in terms of the grid work, analytic written, bones mechanics, in terms of that very specific chart that works in that manifold system. Going to get you that sigma pi, sigma over pi E SN. I'm snake eater here.
And are they the result of, as you reported,
anyways, in here, we advanced this ASVAB through on the class trip of N students. Why are males? What is the percentage of females in the class? Parentheses X plus 1, but that's for me. So I got sigma equals 40N plus 14y equals x percentage. And again, that's the Grammar's Heroes as the AFQT practice test, just basic arithmetic into, you know, the basic trigonometry wave function. We're going to get into a lot going on. Okay, a lot going on in that area. Before we get into the three-dimensional variables on a four-dimensional curve here, Jenny and Sefa are living together, Staffy living together, and have agreed to split 2 divided by n, where p parentheses z parentheses over pn, right? So this is pretty simple stuff when you're the second step into it of the A2 function of what you're trying to deal with the n numbers x systems up top of the A, B, N, and D variables. I might want to slip a D in here actually, but I have your A, B, C, D answers. Now that's not even necessary for that bit of the equation for somebody who knows how to just, you know, cleanup crew coming through here, sweet sweeper, be a basic system where nobody's throwing them upside down equations at it in the form of cruise missiles. So they work it out. They work out their monthly paycheck and get it going, but I actually take that a bit farther with an X2 phase, about 566 or 567, paying $1 extra for going a long game with your battle buddies. And that'll be important for Dave borrowing $2,500 from the local bank. The year interest rate is 8% KN. Now, why would I say that like that in a system like this? It's pretty direct in terms of the system here, which is sigma NI equals PRT, but I wrote it analytically instead of just the way you would write it. It need to be 25, 25, 200, 25, 27, you know, and actually bring the zero over, bring the decimal percentages, 8%, something for sure you must have it at 3 here. There, you know, you might be surprised. If the ratio,
President Trump.
Because I'm going to hammer you with this one, and then usually that big dog stuff gets you a little bit farther with what they're trying to kick out to you. Now we're just going to say, the stuff's not for you, with the sloppy stuff, but I might be able to hand you some lists. And that'll be the difference inside of here once we open it up. This is pretty tight stuff. If the ratio R, men to women, in a city is R X1 ratio X2 for F parentheses or N parentheses, because we're switching that around a little bit here, that in sigma N equals R 3 to 1 over integral F P 554 right? You know, and if you go in there, it very simply has all this written out for you, but that really grinds your gear about, I want you to just not think about this. I give you an example in N, right? And I want you to be able to put the parts together to tell me where it is on the coordinate port positions when this turns into the concrete pour, the area of the pie, and starting to open that up on that two-dimensional, three-dimensional surface before you get into bed, right? They haven't even done that. Now two trains starting at the same X gain are going in A1 and A2. They travel at the rate of R equals N, and that's going to tie into the equation I have for the algebraic series. D at the same T. It's pretty much the same strategy. As it relates to Russia, how soon will they be AB equals AM divided by BM turnover? Now that's a pretty heavy duty statement when we're starting to talk about 24 or 25 feet, 40 feet to 65 feet out of 195 feet of the total distance of miles per hour, and what do we got here? Yeah, miles per hour to miles. You know, that's our first little thing here before we get to that P, I, E, or was it P-I-E? Yeah, P-R-T, I to P-R-t, interest rate to the period there, the algorithm. It's a pretty heavy duty thing. Like I said, it seems real simple. Just slit your throat first up. It's bones is scary. Is that what's behind the cancellation of this China initiative? So again, we're in then B phase, concrete. Just like we want the concrete forwarder, we want the concrete pour, we want a road crew bit. Alice and Bob here for Jenny, the ratio that you got, that you know, the hood program over there. He's running the carpenter crew, and the lady's on the electrician. But there's a marginal utilitarianism to it, where the monopolist diminishing return of switching offsets or adjusting it to a turnover as well starts to do a lot of this stuff.
They covered up for him then, they're covering up for him now. It's kind of hard to cover up the disaster that is a result of this policy now as Russia's invading Ukraine.
It's 5 tonight.
And also, we should point out that this week we learned that the Secret Service claims that it cannot find any communications related to Hunter Biden's travel records. From 2010, 2011, 2013, or when Joe was vice president. How is it possible that the Secret Service doesn't find the records?
Well,
simple word.
So yeah, Zelensky's crew. I mean, if she is the one over there out in Ukraine, being the prime minister, and she can shoulder it and do it, and it's like that salty. Why are you not listening to that fucking salty
CIA with a long list of items we wanted. And of course, she promised she would be responsive to legitimate oversight requests. Yeah. She didn't turn a page over to us. Wouldn't even return our phone calls. So Maria, we do have a deep state. No. It's populated by leftists, and that's something we need to address.
Senator, thank you. We appreciate it, Ron Johnson.
One day in paradise.